Okay. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Capital Link, for having organized another great event today in a wonderful avenue. My name is Luigi Mattera. I am the director of RINA for Greater China area. I am very happy to be the moderator of this panel today, given the very interesting topics we are going to touch, and of course, given the high quality of our panelists today. So let me introduce the speakers, and I will ask to each one of them to have a brief introduction of their company. So I follow my notes. Mark O'Neill, President and CEO of Columbia Group and President of Intermanager.
Good morning again, everybody. Columbia Group is an international integrated maritime logistics, leisure, and energy platform. As I said right at the beginning, we're very proud to have cooperated with our partners in China for many, many years, having built over 270 vessels here in China, cooperating with that wonderful cruise ship that Mr. Chen showed for Sexim Bank at the beginning, and many other projects in the country. Thank you.
Dieter Rondenburg, CEO of Intership Navigator.
Ni hao, and good morning to all of you. Intership Navigation is a ship owner, ship manager, ship operator, and part of the German Hartmann Group. As a group, we've been active in China since more than 30 years, built over maybe close to 200 ships as well, certainly more than 150 ships. We presently have about 25 vessels on order and under construction here in China. Fleet size at the moment for the group is about 120 ships.
Mr. Øyvind Lindemann, CCO of Navigator Gas.
Thank you very much, Luigi, and good morning, everybody. Navigator Gas is one of the leaders in gas ship owning. So we have 56 gas ships, 100% owned. Half of them are built here in China from our colleagues at Jiangnan Shipyard. The other half is from Korea. But we also own the largest ethylene export terminal in the world, which happens to be in the US. So we are connecting the competitive gas pricing in the US to Chinese demand. So we have a big trade lane from our terminal to China with ethylene. But happy to be here and exciting panel.
Thank you. Mr. Stamatis Tsantanis, Chairman and CEO of Synergy Maritime and Founder, Chairman and CEO of United Maritime Corporation.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good morning. First of all, I want to thank Nicholas Bornozis and Capital Link for giving us the opportunity to be back in China, which is a destination that we love. Not just a destination for us as executives, but also a destination for our ships. We transport about 20 million tons of cargo per year, and 3/4 of that end up in China in respect of iron ore, coal, and bauxite, which we consider to be critical materials, raw materials for the global infrastructure drive. China has been very critical for us in respect of not just the destination of our ships, but also ship repairs, shipbuilding, as well as ship financing. So we love coming to China. We consider the chemistry with our Chinese colleagues to be extremely good, and we look forward to continue developing our business here in this country.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can start. In a time where rules and technologies are changing so fast, we really need a leading personality to be open to new ideas and technology. So I would like to ask to this leading personality their perspective on these matters. And I would like to start with Dieter. So talking about new buildings, traditionally, shipbuilding industry almost always focus on CapEx, trying to contain the building cost as much as possible. Today, seems we hear more about OpEx since the design stage, so how to contain the operational cost of the ship during her life. What is your vision on this matter, and how do you see is also changing the role of the designer since design stage?
Yeah, thank you, Luigi. I think indeed the recent environmental legislations is changing the cost structure of ship owning and ship operation as well. Besides the increase in the OPEX over the last years due to generally the inflation and general price increases, the recent legislation has already changed the OPEX structure and also, of course, the CAPEX. If you think back a few years ago, when the sulfur cap was introduced and ship owners started voluntarily installing scrubbers, at the time it was voluntary and it was a gamble if you would be able to recover your CAPEX and the additional OPEX actually that is connected to running scrubbers. But followed on from the sulfur cap, we also saw the EEXI, which was just discussed already, which required many ship owners to retrofit EPL and other technological devices to improve the efficiency. And again, this came with an OPEX cost attached to it. Moving forward now, we will see the additional requirements that come with matching the CII requirements. So ship owners will, even if they didn't have to do anything on the EEXI, will have to do technological operational improvements to the ships over the next years to manage their CII. And again, many of those technological improvements will come with an increase in the OPEX. So the challenge will be in future, how as a ship owner will we be able to recover these extra costs also from the charterers and from the value chain that leads to the end user, of course, as well. We find that extremely difficult. We have, as a company, I mentioned just now that we have about 25 ships on order here in China, all of which are, most of which are gas carriers and some container ships, and all of which have a long-term time charter attached to it, where the charterers are willing and able to pay a bonus for the greening of the vessels. So we are already using LNG propulsion and in fact LPG and ethane propulsion as well. But we find it extremely challenging to create a value proposition for our bulk carriers as well. We wanted to build bulk carriers with potentially LNG propulsion as well, but we find it difficult to get the support from the market for that. So I think the OPEX that is attached to the new legislations will be very, very difficult for owners to recover from the market at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Dieter. Of course, we have also to say that we have many question marks in terms of which fuel and availability and cost and so on. So your concerns are totally shared. I would like to move to Stamatis. Which is your envision on the future of the maritime industry in terms of decarbonization and digitalization? Which are, in your opinion, the short-term and long-term milestones that the maritime industry should aim to achieve?
Well, that's extremely wide subject to discuss.
I know.
To be honest, I will try to narrow it down to the basic principles that we consider to be key elements here in moving forward for the next few years. As far as we're concerned, the rule number one is to keep it simple. I think that we're in a room of a lot of sophisticated executives participating in shipping, but all the way down to the production chain, I don't believe that the sophistication is there to push for drastic changes in the hundreds of millions of deadweight tons that we transport every year. So we have to be very, very careful how we're going to push the change. So rule number one is try to keep things very simple. Number two, in my opinion, is that we have to engage the collaboration and partnership of a number of stakeholders participating in this. So first of all, the owners, the charters, the banks, and the international regulators need to be fully aligned in order to impose the changes that are supposed to come. And like a previous speaker said before, in order to replace all these thousands of ships is completely unattainable in our opinion. So investing in existing vessels, I think that's the key element. You don't really need to do a lot of things. In our opinion, a few critical matters can just go a long way. So as far as we're concerned, we installed remote performance monitoring systems, which we evolved into artificial intelligence a few years after. So right now, all of our ships are running on artificial intelligence that we consider to be critical in this industry because you get real-time information from the ships, advanced weather routings, and of course, the key element is the utilization of the speed of the vessel. So all these simple things that we discussed right now can really go a long way. There's no need to start reinventing the wheel and investing billions of dollars in exotic solutions. You can really do it in simple matters. And the global decarbonization targets of 15 to 20% can be, in our opinion, easily met if everybody participates. So overall, I'm just going to try and give a more concise answer here. Keep things simple, solutions that do not require too much sophistication. Don't try to push too much change down to the production line because, sorry, to the whole logistics line, because I don't think that the world is ready for all these advanced solutions. So if you keep it simple, if you just enforce simple energy-saving devices like even the paints, all the MEVIS ducts, or a number of other energy-saving devices, I think that overall you can achieve the target. So keep it simple, no exotic solutions, not too much investment at this stage, and of course, the new buildings need to be contained as much as possible so the market can at least enjoy positive cash flows that will fund the future evolution of the shipping market.
Thank you very much, Stamatis. Very, you synthesized like a quite wide topic in a very key in a key word, which is keep it simple. I totally share as well. Okay, going a little bit deeper, I would like to ask to Oeyvind, ammonia as a fuel and safety of the crew. You have large experience in carrying ammonia as a cargo on board of your ships. Which are the critical aspects in handling this kind of gas? And ammonia as a fuel, how do you approach the topic of training of the crew, competences, safety in general? Please.
Yeah, so at least when you're in the gas segment, anywhere you go, any conference, any client, any symposium, everybody wants to talk about ammonia. And that's great, because we transport a lot of ammonia today. That is ammonia used for fertilizer industry. We've been transporting ammonia for decades with no issue and so forth. How come we don't have issue? Everybody talks about the challenges of ammonia. That's fine. But challenges of ammonia, of course, is challenging if you don't know how to handle it and so forth, etc. So our crew, obviously well trained in the handling of all sorts of complex gases. Ammonia is toxic. You smell it immediately. You shouldn't have a leak, but of course you will smell it as a human being.
It's too late.
Right, depends on what the ppm is. So we're comfortable in transporting ammonia. The question is, with the solution or the potential solution of green fuels, ammonia can be scaled massively in blue ammonia or green ammonia. The question is then how to use it for energy. And then the second question is how to use it as a fuel for the marine industry. So those are two very different questions. But of course, will ammonia be a major green fuel for the marine industry? Possibly, but it's not around the corner, because it is very complex and it's toxic and regulation have to be there. But fine, I mean, our crew handles gases all day long. What happens if you introduce gas for a dry bulker, where the crew is perhaps not as comfortable with that? And then if you need to train the millions of officers and seafarers in handling ammonia, you know, that is a mind-boggling question, and the world training academies and so forth is not built to do that within the next decade. But for the gas industry, and if you transport gases, we do, yeah, we see that that is a great opportunity that we will probably be doing sooner than you think. But you have to be a bit granular. If you know gases, fine, you're comfortable and so forth. If you're other shipping segment, perhaps it will take longer time. But ammonia is not the single solution for green fuel, but we believe it will be part of it.
Thank you very much. Very, very exhaustive. Mark, Columbia provides a wide range of services in the maritime industry. You do ship management, you do crewing, you do digitalization, you do many other things. How do you see digitalization and decarbonization being connected together? And in your opinion, which are the key considerations that a ship owner should have when implementing decarbonization and digitalization strategies into their fleet?
Thanks, Luigi. Look, I think when one talks about decarbonization as a general proposition, we have to remember that it's so much more than a discussion about alternative fuels. And I think, as with those of you in the audience old enough will remember, in the year 2000, we were all panicking over what would happen to all our computers because computer language didn't recognize the year 2000. Then the word digitalization came, and we all spent years and years of these Capital Links and other conferences talking about digitalization. Well, now it's alternative fuels and decarbonization. Decarbonization is so much more about so much more than alternative fuels. It's time, I think, the industry woke up and smelt the coffee, as they say in the West, and probably some of you, it's time woke up and smelled the coffee as well, this being the second panel. But we have to look at decarbonization or carbon reduction in through a much wider lens. And that lens, I'm very much in favor of what Stamatis said, keep it simple, is much more about vessel optimization than alternative fuels. The fact of the matter is, this industry will not have green ammonia or green hydrogen available to it in sufficient quantities for the next 10, 20 years, possibly even 30 years. The infrastructure just won't be there. So we will be burning hydrocarbons in a more optimized way for the next 20 years. Simple. And they will probably be the dominant fuel for the next 20 years. But we will have all sorts of technologies available to us in that time, on the optimization side, on the digital side, and also on the technology side to optimize. When we look at the optimization opportunities available to us now, as the Columbia Group platform, we see a multitude of different digital technologies, all speaking different languages. And if we had to train our staff in all these different offerings that are available to us, our staff would spend 100%, or in fact 150% of each day just on the training. So what we've done is we've gone to a platform called OneLink Solutions, which provides a single language and a single optimization tool for performance, for weather routing, for bunker optimization, for lube oil optimization, for carbon emission recording, and trading, because that's an important element too. So it's a single platform with a single language, with a single training, because otherwise you simply distract. And if you do that, you can reduce your carbon footprint hugely. Saying all of that, I am a very firm believer that this whole decarbonization or carbon reduction drive will be decided in other industries to the shipping industry. The shipping industry contributes 2% to the carbon footprint. Power stations contribute 73% to the carbon footprint. And I think for shipping to think that it will decide on the alternative fuels of the future is frankly hallucination. These decisions will be taken in other hallowed halls in much bigger sectors, and we will follow suit and do our bit. But I firmly believe we will be looking much more at optimization than total decarbonization for the next 20, 30 years.
Yes, Mark, thank you. I agree. Definitely the shipping will be the followers in this matter. So even if we are responsible of the 80–90% of the goods transported around the world and only the 2%, as you said, of the carbon emissions, yes, I mean, compared to the land industries, the consumption of the fuel that we use is much less. So definitely we will be a followers of the land industry. You talked about optimization, and I cannot agree more. Okay, so still talking about optimization, I would like to ask my next question to Dieter. The pandemic is over, but somehow has accelerated the process of digitalization of the ships. So with the adoption of a wide range of new technologies, helping also working from remote, okay? So which is, in your opinion, the technological solutions that are helping you the most in these days in optimizing the operation of your fleet?
Yeah, let me address this from an operator's point of view, because I think, like Mark just said, I mean, there's a lot more to it than just the technological optimization on our ships and possibly new fuels, which I would agree they are still decades away. But there's a lot we can do on the commercial operation of our vessels, and we operate a fleet of handy-sized bulk carriers, more or less in a niche market, but in the Caribbean and the U.S. Gulf. But it gives us the opportunity to trial out certain things. And I think what we have seen over the last years, what has improved our operation is not so much actually digitalization of processes, but it's the availability of data, of big data, that helps us improve our voyage planning. So we have now, there's a lot more data available on ship movements, a lot more data on cargo movements. We are able to project, when our ship arrives in a port, what other ships will be arriving in a port, will we be able to berth on time and so on. So I think on the ship operation side, a lot has changed from the days where we had where we knew the ship's position from telexes. Today we can track ships, we can track cargo movements as well, and hopefully with the data exchange with ports, which will come with the maritime single window, we will even be able to have access to even more data in the future. I actually think that also the commercial side of shipping is where there are still a lot of opportunities for us to collaborate and also to reduce emissions. You still have a lot of ships, particularly if you look at bulk carriers and tankers, which are not trading at full capacity, which are ballasting. We still have a lot of ballast voyages potentially can be avoided. I think there are great opportunities for as an industry to reduce our emissions as a whole. I would just add one small thing that we have just recently introduced. We were talking about ship operation. We trade a lot to the to South America. And as you will know, there's a big issue with drug trafficking, drug exports from South America. We had a couple of incidents where we found drugs on board of our ships within the cargo. And we tried to think of ways to prevent this going forward. We don't want this to happen again. So we actually introduced recently a system which works with AI. It's a camera system which monitors the cargo that is being loaded into the cargo holds, and it actually detects different sizes or the wrong size to a certain commodity when you load, and then you can stop the cargo. So it's something which I thought was very interesting, where you can, and it's a tool that learns what is the right size and then detects the wrong size of the cargo.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting. Moving again to Stamatis, still talking about digitalization. Based on your experience on your existing fleet, which technological solution you think could give to you the best return on investments in terms of operation of your fleet?
Well, we have used for years now a combination of various solutions in order to reduce the fuel consumption as well as the emissions of our vessels. And that is, first of all, the paints. So if I had to choose one solution, I would say that the new silicone paints give an automatic reduction, which represents the best return on investment in our opinion. So the amount of money that you pay for the hull treatment, as well as the application of the silicone paints, this is what we think has the best return on investment. Second, of course, is the various ducts solutions for the propellers, as well as the Boss Cap fins. And again, I must remind everyone that this is not an invention of the last 5 years. All these solutions, except for the silicone paints, have been around since the 80s. But, you know, since energy was not an issue at the time, nobody chose to install this application. So that's something that we see more and more coming into play right now. Also, I must remind everyone that the best solution the best application of all these energy-saving devices is applied at the speed range that, in our opinion, may not be relevant to the world of tomorrow. So, you know, if you talk about optimizing a ship running at 14, 15 knots, and I will go back to Mark's point, which I agree 100%, what's the point of actually running a Capesize bulk carrier transporting iron ore and coal at 50 knots? We really don't see the point in running the ships so fast, because at the end of the day, by just reducing a couple of knots out of the maximum speeds that a lot of the vessels have been running, you get savings that are tremendous. So there's no need to, again, go back to my favorite favorite saying, by reinventing the wheel. So just by reducing the speed a little bit, and by installing simple things like, first of all, the paints and various other simple devices, you can make a big difference, and you can go a long way in reducing emissions and consumption. So that's what we see is the solution of tomorrow. Simple things that are not so expensive, and they optimize the vessels at a big degree.
And Stamatis, again, being a representative of the Greek shipbuilding, shipowning industry, and knowing that shipping is a very traditional industry, right? Do you think that at this time we are forced to reshape the maritime industry with this new technology entering into our world, same as the other industries, or not?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I must say that Synergy and United Group is an exception to the rule. We are not an establishment company, meaning that we don't have any family sponsorship or any private equity or hedge fund sponsorship whatsoever. So the company operates as a startup, even though we have matured a lot. We still operate as a startup, meaning that all the staff is being treated as equals. And we don't, everybody that joins Synergy comes because of their CVs and because of their track record and because generally we're a very flat organization. Having said that, because of the nature of the business is such, the nature of the company, we have tried to introduce technology as part of our day-to-day lives since the very beginning, since 2015 that we started to rebuild our fleet. Which means that it was pretty much not a choice for people not to follow. It was kind of mandatory to live with technology and live with all the new software and artificial intelligence solutions. We are one of the very few companies in Greece that we maintain a performance and sustainability department which is truly independent, does not belong under the operations or the technical department of the company. So having an independent performance and sustainability department, I think that helps all the company to have availability to data that are truly independent and not being influenced by its department or the cruise itself. And as a final point, I want to echo a little bit the airline industry's idea that we have to make the lives of our crew members as simply as possible. You cannot ask our officers and our crews to become, to change their DNA and become something that they are not, they have not been trained of. And their ultimate responsibility is the running and operations safety of the vessel itself. So if we bombard the crews by so many new technologies and so many new information, it only makes their lives as difficult as possible. We, as an office, have to make the lives of the crew as simple as possible by introducing technologies that are easy to install, easy to understand, and that is going to help vessel operations and collaboration between office and the ship to be as efficient as possible.
Yes, Stamatis, so the key sentence is always make things simple.
Yes,
Very
indeed,
well.
yes.
Very well. Okay, Mark, what new technology your company has implemented to bring new values and enhance the service to your clients and of the crew on board?
Thanks, Luigi. I think we've been talking about the technologies already, but I think all of us here involved in shipping appreciate that the start, middle, and end of everything is the crew. And what difference a motivated, a well-motivated, a well-trained, a healthy, a well-fed, and a well-paid crew can make to your operation. More vital than any technology or any digital application. That said, from our group's perspective and focusing on the crew, we brought in a very complex care facility for our crew, One Care Solutions, which looks after the mental health, the medical health of our crew. We brought in some of the most sophisticated catering companies on board our vessels, MCTC, which has digital storerooms so they can see exactly what the status of the fresh produce on board each vessel, so they can monitor and tailor diets to specific crews. There is no point giving a Chinese crew Indian diet or vice versa. And we've moved light years ahead now in really tailoring our catering for the crews on board and ensuring fresh produce. Our platform OneLearn offers e-learning to all of our crew, but tailored e-learning, not just commoditized products. So the whole crew doesn't get the same program. Each individual crew member will get an e-learning program on their mobile phone or on their tablet, tailored for their own needs. And these are interactive training products. Learning, digitalization, and technology enables us to really focus what we're doing in a much greater way. All our ships have unlimited Wi-Fi. I mean, that's essential now. And, we are rolling out Starlink on all our vessels so as to ensure the best Wi-Fi connectivity. And then, as I mentioned before, we've turned to a provider called OneLink to provide this single language optimization platform. So you're looking at weather, you're looking at fuel consumption, you're looking at where is the best place and the most cost-effective place to bunker your vessels, to supply lube oils, et cetera, et cetera. And that brings in huge value, drives in huge value to the bottom line. So in that sense, that's a service that we provide for our clients and for our fleets under management. But there's no doubt the biggest challenge to this industry is bringing in an effective human resource management, both the crew on board and the staff ashore. And that's where this industry lags behind other sectors so dramatically. We have to manage the careers of our crew on board. We have to look after their interests. We have to bring in modern policies, both on board and ashore. And if we do that, then we'll attract the quality people that will drive this industry forward.
Mark, thank you. So definitely the industry is reshaping itself. Do you see any other progressive adoption of the new technology on board from now going forward?
Do I see what, sorry?
New technology, always new technology being implemented on this industry.
Yeah, I think the challenge is to resist that as much as possible. And, you know, as I said before, when digitalization, that buzzword first came out, we were all bombarded on this platform, I'm sure, by all of those suppliers, each with a different application, each trying to get our attention and persuading us that we would make huge savings. I think I fully agree with what Stamatis said. Keep it as simple as possible and focus on the job. The best technology available to us is the human brain. And if we use that technology to its best effect and operate the vessels as we've been doing over the past years as effectively and as optimized as possible, then we will achieve all of the targets necessary.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Mark. Owind, back to you. Let's say, this is a $1 million question. Let's say you have to build a ship today. Which innovative technology, not necessarily linked to the digitalization, you think should be made available since delivery to make your operation more efficient?
Well, it takes a long time to build a ship today. So why not wait? I mean, all the ship owners here are talking our own books and on ordering, right? But if you don't do that, your company will vanish after some years because it's a depreciating asset. So yes, you have to do something. Apart from doing things to your current assets that my colleagues here have been talking about, which is very important, but it's going to solve the issue. It'll reduce about 20%, which is fantastic. But new ships depends a little bit of the segments you're in. So to reference to your earlier question, what would Navigator gas do? Well, we're lucky in the sense that we deal with gases. So, will you build a ship that runs on gas? Absolutely. Whether that is LNG, whether that is ethane, to your point, Dieter, or whether that is ammonia. So that would what we would do. If you're not in gas, then you seriously have to look at the technologic advancement in carbon capture on board. That has some issues, many issues that brings with it. And of course, if you're going to build a CO2 carrier, then it makes a lot of sense because you're going to go to a sink and dump your CO2 anyways. But that is very niche. So, if you're in gas, I would bet ammonia. If you're not in gas, I'll let my other colleagues answer, because I don't know.
Well, so allow me to rephrase the question to also the other panelists. Stamatis, what's your opinion on if you should build a vessel today, which technological solution you will look for?
Well, we are actually looking at other solutions which we have not mentioned already. Biofuels, we were the first dry bulk shipping company to run biofuels in August of 2021, and we have been using biofuels since then. The other is, like you very well said, the carbon capturing. We're now looking at 3 different prototypes for carbon capturing, either in combination with the scrubbers or as a combined scrubber and carbon capturing at the same time. There are various logistical matters that need to be resolved in order to proceed with carbon capturing, but we believe that once these matters have been addressed, we will be one of the first companies to use carbon capturing to the extent that the vessel allows, because Capesize is a big ship, so you can store a lot of CO2. But again, don't expect miracles. You're not going to go to 100% capturing and 100% saving. You're going to go to, let's say, 15 to 20%. So every little bit helps. So if you can make the ship 20% better, 15% better, and you can capture carbon by, let's say, another 15, 20%, all together, little by little, it's going to help, and biofuels. All of that will help the ships last longer. And the reason why, to your very good point, we're not discussing new buildings is twofold. First of all, the price difference of a new building to a 10-year-old ship on dry bulk is huge. So it's kind of impossible for a new investment to make sense, at least in our standards. We don't really see how that new investment of, let's say, 78 to 80 million can really pay off at the current rates for dry bulk, which have been lower than expected. And the second is we still have not figured out what the prevailing technology is going to look like. I mean, you have a very good solution on the gases for ammonia, but dry bulk being the least sophisticated vessel out there, I don't want to test the crew's capacity and capabilities with things that may not be able to handle. So, like Mark said before, we'd rather be followers in the new technology, wait a little bit, and overall, we're just going to try and last the existing fleet a little bit longer until that solution, we come across that solution.
It's, if I could just follow on from what Stamatis said, and on the following point, if you look at the motor car industry, and I know China is now #1 spot on electric vehicles, but if one looks at the motor car industry in Europe, it's very telling that the German motor car industry rolled back on legislation relating to the banning of the combustion engine, and it's rolled it back to at least 2035. Now, I have some relatives in one of the largest of the motor car industries in Europe, and they are very, very much of the opinion that there will be an effective carbon stripping, carbon capture technology for the combustion engine in the next few years. And where you see most of the engine manufacturers in the shipping industry are owned by the car industry, then that technology is sure to apply to the combustion engines used on board our vessels as well. So it's merely a question of prioritization and what technology will be available. But I'm firmly of the belief that we will be burning hydrocarbons, albeit with a carbon capture or carbon stripping, maybe even at the point of the refinery in the next few years. So we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. We can't get ahead of ourselves anyway, because there isn't the shipyard capacity to replace the world fleet for the next 20, 30 years in any event. So these vessels will be there and will need traditional fuels to burn in a more carbon-friendly way. Again, decarbonization is not zero carbon. It's about reducing the carbon, and we can do that in many, many effective ways through the optimized operation of our vessels.
Correct, correct.
Can I also just add my thought to it? I would agree that it was marked that the carbon capturing is certainly one part of the puzzle. We were going forward. There's no one size fits all, and I think that's clear to everybody here. The fact that we will, certainly as part of the industry on the bulk and tanker side, we will not have access to the new fuels in future, will mean that different parts of the industry will develop differently as well. And I think, I agree with Oeyvind on the gas. I mean, we do gas carriers as well. Clearly, gas carriers are, the obvious choice of fuels will be ammonia or other gaseous fuels in future, so LNG, for example. For our bulk carriers, quite frankly, I can't see ammonia being one of the fuels on our ships. We don't have the trained crew for this, and I don't think I would want this fuel on our ships, because I don't think we will ever have these trained crews on our ships. So there will be different ways forward for different industries. There's a lot of talk about chicken and egg with regards to new fuels. I don't see how we as ship owners can be the leaders on this. There will be some parts of the industry like container ships where basically they're being sponsored by their stakeholders in terms of getting paid for their efforts to decarbonize. But others of us will not be. So certainly on the bulkers and tankers, we will not be the driving force going forward on deciding on the fuels.
Thank you. Mark, sorry, back to you. How do you see, because the topic is very complex, okay? So as a management company, how you see the cooperation between management company and all ship owners for the to cooperate together to reduce the carbon emission?
Well, I mean, I think it is, we are ship owners and we are managers and we are a platform of services. When we heard from Mr. Chen on the Adora project, which Sexim Bank is involved in, and we're involved in other cruise projects in Saudi Arabia for Cruise Saudi and advising the Egyptian government on their cruise ships. We're advising them now on all the options available to them. So, as I said, adopting a sense of realism, I think. Wake up and smell the coffee is a bit of a headline grabber, but it's a realistic approach to the whole issue of decarbonization, making these vessels smart vessels. In Saudi Arabia, we put out to sea the first 2 smart vessels in the world. One was a jack-up rig and one was an offshore supply vessels. You could walk around these vessels virtually from the shore. You could pick up fire extinguishers, look at the dates, look at the dials, optimize, turn off the auxiliary engines. You could train your crew remotely before they even left India or before they left the Philippines. So the crew familiarization time was drastically cut down, the cost was drastically cut down, and you could really optimize the vessel's performance. That's what we want to do to these cruise ships. That's what we want to do to all of our ships. So it's a discussion with owners, what is the most cost-effective way to optimize and try to reduce the carbon footprint as much as possible on the most relevant vessels.
Great, thank you very much. Dieter, back to you. Slightly changing the subject, you have your own training center in the Philippines, right? So which are, in your opinion, the skills and the training required for the crew, superintendent, but also managers in order to operate digitalized and decarbonized?
Yeah. We heard a few times from Stamatis and keep it simple. I think it would be nice if we could keep it simple, but quite frankly, I think given the developments we have seen already in terms of electronic engines and electronic cranes and other things on board of the ships, we have to realize, onboard ship management is changing, has changed, and will continue to change in the near future. So we will also need to offer different training opportunities to our crews. We will have to upskill existing crew members, and we will have to train new additions to our crew pool in a different way than we have done it in the past. Of course, that includes more digital approaches to the shipboard operation. We are seeing now a lot more sensor-based management, which will also implement or imply that there's more control from the office side. So the way ships are being operated is changing, and so how we train our seafarers is changing as well. And we are with the introduction of new fuels, that will come to a whole new dimension. If indeed we want to train crew to have ammonia as a fuel, then obviously the engines, the gas plant, everything else is completely different from what we have seen on our existing vessels. So there will be a lot to be done on the training side. We're actually redesigning, redoing, upskilling our own training center in the Philippines at the moment, and I think that's something that will be important for everybody who's in this business to keep up with the developments.
Thank you. I would like to replicate the same question also to Mark, please.
Yeah, I was asked on another panel, another place, the same question before. You know, will we have enough skilled crew in the future, and do we have enough skilled crew now? We have enough crew, but they're not all skilled and educated to the required standard, and I think that's the challenge for the shipping industry going forward. You're now going to have more and more to think about dedicated crew for certain different vessel types, which we've already had, but not only that now, subsectored into specific fuels, because there are skill sets that are required and knowledge that's required and training that's required to be able to handle those fuels safely. That said, I don't think it's going to be as difficult perhaps as Dieter suggested, because not everyone on board the vessel will have to be trained to the same standard. And we're seeing more and more control from home base. If you look at our performance optimization control room in Cyprus, it's like Space Station Houston or the equivalent in China, wherever that might be. There is more and more control that is required from the shore to the vessel, and more direction and specific education to certain individuals that can take place, those individuals that are required for specific functions on board the vessel. So I think you will have a certain number of highly specialized crew on board, but the general crew, your able-bodied, your ordinary seamen, will probably still require the basic training. Not everybody will have to be trained to the specialized standards required.
Thank you, Mark. This is kind of also good news to hear. On the same topic, Stamatis, how do you see the challenges and barriers to implement digital solutions in maritime industry?
Well, as I mentioned before, it's like the evolution of the personal computer or the iPhone or, you know, all these things that we have experienced the last 30, 40 years. So as long as there is good faith and well-trained people at the office and keep things simple into a very nice, friendly interface, I think it should not be an issue trying to implement that for the shipping companies and most importantly on board the vessel. So I don't really see any issue in that. We just need some uniformity, and the overall issue in shipping is that there's not so much uniformity. There's a lot of different systems being applied by different vendors. So as long as there's uniformity and a friendly interface, and most importantly, dedicated teams to monitor that, so people do not get diluted attentions, especially on board the vessels that they have a specific job in operating the ship safely. I think that it's not going to be an issue to implement new technologies at the offices and also on board the vessels.
Great, thank you very much. I see that we are perfectly in time, and we can also, I can be also able to ask my last question. So, Øyvind, do you have any successful example to share with us regarding the good cooperation between a ship owner, management, and other stakeholders in advanced decarbonization and digitalization?
Well, you can't. The expression was build Rome in a day here, but you can't build Rome by yourself. So it's all the participants on the value chain have to cooperate to make the just-in-time, you know, the age-old Japanese method, etc., to be more efficient, to reduce costs and reduce carbon. So the producer has to cooperate with the terminal, with the ship owner, with the consumer. We have a terminal in Houston, and we can clearly see efficiencies by owning a terminal and a shipping fleet, and the efficiency that you can get from that with scheduling of ships, reduce waiting, etc. That's just one example whereby two parties in the value chain can actually make an immediate impact because usually there's Chinese walls between them, and nobody cares how the efficiency is for the other person. But it should matter. And that cooperation on the value chain should improve as we go forward, because there's a tremendous amount of efficiencies that can be unlocked if that happens. And then technologies will have to be there, but also the mindset. So the mindset, I'm listening to some of the my panelists here, and it's fine to think simple and make simple, and it's fine to reduce carbon a little bit by little bit. It's fine to be the follower, but if we don't think big, nothing is going to happen. And we are middle-aged people here. Imagine, being straight out of university, at least in Europe, and you're Gen Z, and you're in hydrocarbon business. How are you going to attract these folks to work with you? Say, hey, we transport carbon, and we are going to reduce a little bit. That doesn't work with these new generation of people. So we have to be a little bit ambitious to get it done in the offices too. Fine with the crew, but don't forget young talent and what attracts the industry.
Totally agree. Mark, what's your opinion on this?
Yes, I think we talked about collaboration, and we talked about the importance of the Chinese market to all of us. Just by way of example, I gave the Adora project, the new Chinese cruise project, but also our collaboration with some of the Chinese ship managers, Seacon amongst one, where expertise in the management and operation and optimization of LPGs, VLGCs, LNGs, etc., that expertise tends to reside more in the West than in China, where that market is up and coming now, and therefore you see a cooperation amongst us, where the Chinese operators say, look, let's work together to commonly learn and share that knowledge. So I think collaboration and working together is happening in our industry, and the pace of change is driving that.
Thank you very much, Mark. Allow me to say that also the role of the classification society is changing in this respect. So also us as a class, we are closely cooperating also with the ship management, the ship owners, designers, builders to race together in these challenging targets. Okay, thank you very much. I think we touched quite a wide range of topics, and I would like to thank the panelists, the organizers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.